So guys, have you been thinking about purchasing a 2024 Road Glide or Street Glide? Guys, my name is Rick and this is the HDVIBE channel. That is something I have been wrestling with since I test rode a 2024 Road Glide a few months ago, and I did a video on that. Well, as I typically do, because I am an accountant. I am a certified public accountant with a certificate here in Missouri, and I've been working in the accounting and finance area for over 35 years now. So one of the things I do is I analyze what are my options and how much will that purchase cost me over time. So guys, in today's video, what I'm going to do is kind of run you through some of those scenarios and show you how much and what my thinking is in terms of how much that may cost me for that motorcycle over 5 years. And there's one scenario where that could cost me almost $75,000. And we'll get into all that right after this. All right, guys, so this is how I'm going to set this scenario up. So I'm going to assume I'm going to purchase a 2024 Road Glide. I'm going to keep that motorcycle for 5 years, and I'm going to ride it for about 10,000 miles per year. And what I want to do is I want to buy a black one. So the 2024 Road Glide, you can get this right off of Harley Davidson's website. The MSRP, $25,999. If you want to get black, that color is $600. Other colors are a little bit more. Freight, prep, dealer fees, all that kind of stuff. I'm just going to say for round numbers, say it's $1,901. Takes us to a total of $28,500. So if I had cash and I was going to pay cash for this motorcycle, I would write a check to my Harley Davidson dealer for $28,500. Now in Missouri, I don't pay my tax title license at the dealership. I actually pay at the DMV, and that is about 10% or about $2,850. So I'd have to pay that at the DMV to get that license titled in my name, all those sort of things. So cash out the door, and this is going to be an important number as we kind of go through this, would be $31,350. So remember that. I'm going to have this bike for 5 years. We're going to ride it about 10,000 miles. So there's obviously some other cost of ownership over a 5-year period that we will incur. So fuel, we're going to spend about $5,000 on fuel. Again, that's averaging, say, 10,000 miles a year. We get about 40 miles a gallon. I'm using as an assumption $3.75 a gallon, so about 5,000 bucks over that 5 years. Maintenance, you're going to have your K services, probably 2 a year at 10,000 miles a year. So those are, say, roughly 600 bucks. You may have some other stuff in there, but we're just going to go with this for now. $1,200 per year, 5 years, 6,000 bucks. Next, insurance. You have to insure the motorcycle. So I'm going to guesstimate about $600 per year over 5 years. That's going to be about $3,000. Obviously, depending on where you live, your driving record, those sort of things, that could vary, but I'm guessing about $3,000 over that 5-year period. Upgrades. We all do upgrades, right? We get a new bike, but you're still probably going to need a seat. You may need bars, you may need exhaust, you may need a tuner, you may need some other stuff. Obviously, people spend a lot of money. I'm going to guess $6,000 over 5 years. That's probably on the low end. It's probably more than that. So if I just take under these assumptions, my total cost of ownership over that 5 years, if I pay cash for the purchase of the bike and all of these things, maintenance and the like, over that 5 years, that's going to be $51,350. So I know you're going to ask yourself, well, Rick, you said at the onset, it could cost me up to $75,000 to purchase that motorcycle over some time. I'm still going to get to that. But in this scenario, I'm paying cash for all this. But what if we actually finance this? So what would the cost be if we actually finance it and then could take that money and invest it in an investment vehicle? For a financing structure, what we're going to be looking at, again, I can't finance my tax title license in Missouri, but I can finance the purchase price of the bike. But typically, if you're financing, you're going to probably want to put something down, say 10%. All right, so if we're going to put 10% down, that's $2,850. Our amount financed is actually going to be our $28,500 less $2,850, our 10% down. That's going to leave us with $25,650 to finance. So I think my math is right there. So if we had to finance that through Harley Davidson or wherever you could get the best rate, I would say a good rate, if you have good credit right now, is probably going to be in that between 6 and 7%. But right now, actually, Harley Davidson has some lower rates that they're offering in that about 2 or 3% range. So let's calculate as if we could get a 5-year note on 25,650 at 3%. So we're going to say 3% interest rate, APR. So let's calculate what that payment would be. Okay, so I've gone to a website here, Bankrate, which will calculate what your monthly payment will be as well as how much interest you'll pay. So if I have my loan amount of $25,650, which we talked about, 5-year note, 60 months, and we had a 3% interest rate, we had a special financing from Harley Davidson, that would give us a monthly payment of $460.90, and we would be paying $2,003.81 of total interest over that 5-year period. I would ask you to comment below on this question. As I go through all these scenarios, one of the scenarios would be I trade in the 2021 Street Glide CVO. My question is, what do you guys think it's worth on a trade-in value? And what do you think it's worth if I sold it private sale? Again, this is a 2021 Street Glide CVO with the orange sunset fade. It has only under 8,000 miles on it. It has all custom dynamics upgrades. It does have the color match, paint match, Chop tour pack on it, saddle seats. So all of that would go with the bike. So I'm curious, guys, comment down below. Let me know what you think trade-in value would be versus private sale. So as I said, our payment would be $460.90. We'd pay a total of $2,003, $2,004 of interest over that 5-year period. So that's going to add to our total cost of ownership over that time period. So if you just add these two together, $2,000 plus the $51,000, and that's assuming instead of making that $25,000 and investing it, you're just setting it aside in a non-interest bearing account and you're making those payments over that time. So that would add another, say, $2,000 to the $51,000 of total cost of ownership, and you'd be at $53,000 or so, say $54,000 of total cost of ownership over 5 years if you financed 90% of that. But what if you actually could invest this $25,650 in an investment vehicle that would yield you 10% interest, which is well in excess of the 3% you're earning? What would that do to our total cost of ownership? Switch over to an investment and growth return calculator. So we're going to start with our investment amount of the principal, the 90%, $25,650. We're going to hold that for 5 years, and we're going to say this investment vehicle that we're selecting can yield 10%, which is very doable in today's market. So what does that yield? That takes that $25,650 over that 5 years and turns it into $41,310. So assuming we can make that $461 monthly payment without touching this $25,650, you could turn that $25,650 into $41,310, thereby reducing your total cost of ownership. So let's go back to the board and do the math on that. So we just ran through the number. If we were able to invest what we borrowed, $25,650, instead of paying that out up front, we paid 3% interest because Harley Davidson has a special interest rate. We paid $2,003, $2,004 of interest over that 5-year period. However, if we invested that $25,650 in a vehicle that yields us 10% over that same 5-year period, our interest earned is going to be $15,660. Now compare that to the $2,003 we paid. Our net is $13,650 of interest income. If we offset that against our total 5-year cost of ownership of $51,350 less the $13,656, we're at approximately a $37,694. So actually, this is making more sense, right? So we're paying $28,500. We're actually being able to earn interest on this $25,600 because we paid 3%. We can earn 10%. So the total cost of ownership, including all of this, now is $37,694 because we were able to finance at a lower rate than what we could earn in the marketplace. Again, I'm not a financial advisor, but a 10% return in today's market on depending on the income vehicle is very, very doable. So let's wipe this slate clean and kind of start over. Erase all of this. We did some financing. We had a lower rate than what we were paying, and so net, that was about $37,000 of 5-year cost of ownership. So now let's look at the scenario under with which this could cost us almost $75,000. So here's the scenario. So if I bought this motorcycle, it could cost me, I paid cash for everything, it could cost me almost over $51,000. But what if instead of buying that motorcycle, I actually invested all this cash at the same time when I would have purchased this? So essentially, my cash initially would be $31,350 that I would put in this same investment vehicle that we just talked about at 10% return. And then over the years, over that 4-year period, I'd spend about $1,000. I'd invest that instead. I'd spend about $1,200 on maintenance. Instead of spending it, I'm going to invest it. $3,000 on insurance, $600 a year. I'm going to invest that annually. And then upgrade $6,000 instead of spending that, I'm going to invest that annually. So my total annual investment each year over 5 years is going to be about $4,000. So let's go back to the investment calculator and see what that yields us if we made this investment instead of spending money on a 2024 Road Glide. Okay, so we're back to our investment calculator. We're going to go through the numbers again. My starting point, my initial investment is going to be the $31,350. So let's punch that in, $31,350. And then as I said annually, instead of spending on fuel, maintenance, upgrades, and all those sort of things, we're going to invest that $4,000 every year into this investment vehicle. And we're going to get a 10% rate of return, as I said, just like on the previous investment vehicle. Over 5 years, that will yield us $74,910 doing this investment scenario. Here is the $74,910, or approximately $75,000. I mean, give and take, I'm going to say it's at least $75,000, that if I didn't buy this 2024 Road Glide, I invested all of this money in that scenario that I laid out on the computer in that investment calculator, that would yield us or increase our net worth by almost $75,000, probably more than $75,000 over that 5 years, versus if I paid cash, took all of that same cash and put that into a motorcycle over that same 5-year period, I would be spending $51,350. So if you net those two together, my opportunity cost, I didn't spend this and I was able to earn this, that's a swing of over $125,000 or an additional $75,000 that I still have in my net worth that I wouldn't have had I invested that in that motorcycle. That's the numbers. So what do you think? Do you purchase a motorcycle with cash? That doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense, especially if you have a spread on that interest rate where you can actually earn more return on that money than you're paying in interest, especially right now with that financing. You saw that could knock that down significantly, that total cost of ownership. Or do you just avoid it completely and put an additional $75,000 in your net worth should you start out with that cash in hand to be able to purchase that? Again, that assumes that if you're going on to scenario 2, you're making those monthly payments without touching that principal. So that's something to consider as well. But if you have the cash available and you can still make the payment, scenario 2, if you want to buy that motorcycle, probably makes the most sense, especially right now as of the taping of this, but always in any scenario, whether it be motorcycles, cars, whatever, always look at that spread. What can you earn on that money if you have it available versus what that rate you will pay on that financing over whatever that term would be. So no, there's a fun factor, right? It's not all dollars and cents. There's some value, intrinsic value of having these sort of luxury items, toys, Harley Davidson motorcycles, all alike, whether it's a boat, an extra car, a motorcycle. There's something associated with that, but me being a numbers guy, I kind of think through all these scenarios and what makes the most sense for my situation. And I hope this information is helpful for you to kind of think through these scenarios. And at the end of the day, if you have a good motorcycle that may be one generation older than the current 2024s and is still running good like I have, I don't know if I'd make that decision. Again, I may make that decision and trade or sell the 2021 Street Glide CVO. But again, comment down below. Let me know what you think value would be if I traded in, or value would be if I private sold it to put that money toward a 2024. I'd really appreciate it. So guys, if you got some value out of this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also consider sharing this with your friends so that like-minded individuals who might be interested in sort of running through these scenarios, thinking about buying a motorcycle or any other sort of luxury item or even a car. What are the scenarios? How does it play out? Those calculators I use, those are out on the internet. They're free, they're available. You can run those scenarios and see what you come up with. Do the math like I did, and hopefully they can get something out of this. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, hit that button right down here. I'd really appreciate it. And when you do subscribe for the first time, leave a comment down below saying I subscribe so I can personally reach out and thank you for supporting the channel. Also, don't forget to hit that bell icon and select all, so you do get notified every time I do put out new content. I have over 250 videos on tips, tricks, rides, reviews, installs on these Harley Davidson touring motorcycles, as well as motorcycle skills that I share with you. All these videos are free, and there's bound to be something you learn about a product. You'll learn how to install a product. You may get a discount code. You'll learn about some motorcycle slow speed skills that could help you become a more confident rider. And sometimes I talk about these types of topics where we're kind of going through financial scenarios relative to motorcycles, and it may help you out as well. And again, I don't ask for memberships. Just give me a like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment. That's all I ask. I don't want your money. I just want you to enjoy and get some value out of these videos. So guys, with that, I want to leave you with this thought. Life is short. Get out and ride the bike. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye now.